Good evening and welcome to the special 30th annual Noche de Las Memorias. Let's give a round of applause to Manuel Sanchez, who year after year opens the program with a call for solemnness. We also would like to thank Danza Azteca Nexahualcoyo for the blessing of the land on which we stand this evening. There's a beautiful energy in this room, don't you think? At this point, somos familia, que no? Okay. Well, we have a little bit of breaking news, so we're going to divert from what we had initially planned at the top, but this is really important. It is my true honor to introduce the Honorable Javier Becerra, Secretary, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, who is joining us live.
The offices of the Secretary of State's office in downtown Los Angeles and filed incorporation papers for this organization.
Mr. Secretary. Warm hand.
Am I on?
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I know that you have some thoughts on the 30-year anniversary and the groundbreaking work that's being done and continues to be done by the Wall Las Memorias. What is your insight, sir?
Know if I'm on or not.
Can you hear us?
Am I on? Laura, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How's this? Can you hear me now? I hate Zoom. Welcome to my world. Mr. Secretary, this is Laura. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me, Laura?
Yeah, now. And I was talking about what a momentous occasion it is here on the 30-year anniversary and the groundbreaking work that the Wall Las Memorias has done. Your thoughts on that, sir?
Well, Laura, thank you first for letting me join. To everyone who is there, I salute you for taking the time on World AIDS Day, being there this evening, and to a brother and a tenacious warrior for humanity, Richard Saldivar. I just got to say, muchísimas gracias, hermano. Thank you for that vision. Thank you for going for it 30 years ago. 30 years ago, I was in my first year as a member of Congress representing this very area where you sit today in the House of Representatives. I was trying to cause trouble the way Richard's been causing trouble most of his life. But as my dear friend and a civil rights icon, John Lewis, used to say, it's causing good trouble. And that's what Richard and so many of you, I hope, are doing, is continuing to cause good trouble. Remember, 30 years ago, when Richard set off on this journey to save lives and to remember those who we lost, it was a different time. It was a far more difficult time. I remember just 3 years into my service in 1996, there was legislation called the Defense of Marriage Act, which would try to put into our statutes at the national level a prohibition of people who loved each other from marrying each other simply because they might be of the same sex. And we fought very hard, very, very hard in 1996 to defeat that Defense of Marriage Act. 67 of us voted against that bill in the House of Representatives out of 435. Different day. Today, we have overturned that law. Today, we have overcome so much of that hate, that misinformation, the discrimination. Today, we have a president who has actually now charged us at the Department of Health and Human Services and who has focused his budget on championing the end of the HIV epidemic by 2030. And those aren't just words. Look at his budget. About $8 billion focused on HIV AIDS this year. When you take a look at the entire domestic proposal investments in the president's budget, some $28 billion overall in investments to try to take on HIV AIDS. Richard's quest, and all of you have been in that journey as well, and that achievement that we are celebrating today, 30 years later, at this very spot, at the wall Las Memorias, is something that we have to remember, not simply because it gives us a chance to think of those that we lost, but because 30 years ago, this was not expected. But I will tell you, just as much as it was not expected, this wall, Las Memorias, is not because of luck. It's not because of an accident. It is absolutely because of intention. Wall Las Memorias was intentional. And it was intentional by all of you who understood that this must stand and that we needed to have a memory. And so I hope each and every one of you will keep up the fight. I hope you will continue to get in good trouble. That's what we're going to do. That's why we are defending, under the civil rights laws, everyone's right to be able to love whom they want, get the healthcare services they need, regardless of their sex, gender, orientation. We want to make sure that no one suffers the consequence of a disease and doesn't get the treatment that's available. That's why we are fighting for PrEP reauthorization. We need your help to make sure that the funding will continue for the best way we know to keep everyone alive who has HIV. And that's why we continue to defend PEPFAR, which has been the most successful initiative globally to take on HIV/AIDS at a time when there are those who would like to see it unravel. And so, Laura, when you ask me, what does this mean to me? It means not just Memoriaś. It means a tenacious warrior who stood up and said, we're going to have a wall. And all those people who stood with Richard and have for these many years, who understood that over all the discrimination, over all the efforts to pass discriminatory laws like the Defense of Marriage Act, over all the things that we're seeing today that are being done to young people who are seeking to be able to affirm their gender, we have to keep standing up. And so, Laura, I am thrilled. I can't be there in person, but I am absolutely there in spirit with you, because we understand that the journey to get this wall was not easy, but it certainly was intentional. And I intend to be part of that fight as we go ahead and move, as President Biden said, to end the epidemic of HIV/AIDS and also give everyone the justice and equity that they deserve. So thank you for letting me join you. Enjoy your celebration. Adelante.
I didn't get to say goodbye. I was going to hit him up for an interview. All right. He must have known. All right, so we're going to go back to the beginning. I'm Laura Diaz, and thank you. And it's been my honor to host this event for my dear friend Richard for 19 years. Year after year, I come back, and it's such a warm embrace here. And the work that's being done is so groundbreaking and transformative. I'm just really honored to be invited back. And Richard, 20-year, we're going to have been together 20 years. So I'm expecting a little special gift next year. What do you think? I have one for you, too. So we'd like to start with a blessing, although we've already had many. Tonight's program, we invite Dr. Joselito Landencia, who will provide a spiritual message for tonight's event. He's a spiritual life coach, founder and CEO of Abundant Good Coaching and Training. He's an author, and Joselito is also Richard's partner. Let's give him a warm hand.
Please join me in prayer. What a blessing it is to be here tonight on this most special of World AIDS Days, as we gather to remember those we have lost to AIDS, as we connect with each other in sacred community, and as we celebrate the founding of the Noche de las Memorias 30 years ago. On this night in 1993, in this very park, 15 people gathered together to plant a seed in pain and in mourning and in grief. They called for justice. And those 15 people allowed the spirit of spontaneity to emerge as one person called a name to someone they had lost from AIDS, and another person called another name. And all of those names would come to be added to the wall that we see here before us. And that calling spread out to the winds, calling across the region and across time to bring together people to nurture that seed that was planted on that very night. And so each and every one of us here is an answer to that calling from 30 years ago. And so we must give thanks for this time that we have to be here together, to allow this evening to unfold in that call for love, in that call for justice, and allow this evening to just be the beautiful, magical evening that it already is. In that vision and grounded in love, we just let it be. Amen.
Joselito, that was so beautiful. Always has just the right words. As we begin our program, I want to take a moment to acknowledge several distinguished guests who are committed to supporting the work of the Noche de las Memorias. Here they are. Manny Gomez, who is running for Los Angeles City Council District 2. Jessica Calosa, who is running for District 52. Sasha Renee Perez, who is running for State Assembly 25. Eric Siddall, who is running for LA County DA. Jeffrey Prang, LA County Assessor. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. Before we get started with the more constructed part of the program, I'd like to introduce and invite Deborah Wafer to say a few words. Now, Deborah is the Senior Director, Public Affairs, U.S. Virology Community Engagement and Advocacy at Gilead Sciences. At Gilead, Deborah focuses on partnerships with advocates and community-based organizations to help end the HIV epidemic. Gilead Sciences has been a leader in developing antiviral treatments for HIV and has nearly 12 commercially available medications. Deborah, can you please come up and say a few words?
Thank you, Diana, for that kind introduction, and hello and welcome to everyone. I am happy to be here tonight, and I want to thank everyone who attended, all of the attendees, the supporters, the volunteers, and all the staff that make this a wonderful evening for the wall. On behalf of Gilead, it's an honor to be here for World AIDS Day and to celebrate the wall and what has happened over the last 30 years. I actually am a nurse practitioner by training, and as I was sitting here, I was thinking about how long ago I started seeing patients, and to think that it's been, for me, like 25 years of working in the field of HIV. And we've come a long ways. We've come a long ways because of some of the medication, but we've also come a long ways because of people like Richard who continue to fight. So congratulations, Richard. And since 1993, every World AIDS Day, this event brings people together to remember loved ones and to share memories. This event empowers the community to end the stigma and the bigotry associated with HIV and AIDS. And we are committed to ending the epidemic. At Gilead, we understand that it's more than medicine that's needed to get through this epidemic. It's about the fusion of science and the community that will bring about that change. So we are committed and focused on empowering the members of the community in the LGBTQI and HIV communities with knowledge, resources, and programs that help make the difference. With the power of many working together as one, we are making great strides in raising awareness, pushing for equality, increasing access to health care in places where it's needed most, and erasing stigma that has kept us from living the lives that people need to live with HIV. So thank you for letting us be a part of this, and together we can reach a collective goal of ending the epidemic for everyone, everywhere. Let's keep igniting change, and congratulations again on 30 years, and we look forward to working with you in the next 30. Thank you.
Deborah, thank you so much. We're so appreciative of all you've done for the Noche de Las Memorias. We'd like to express our sincere appreciation to Gilead for your unwavering dedication and support for our 30th annual Noche de las Memorias. Let's give her another warm hand. As a presenting sponsor of our World AIDS Day event, now your commitment to creating a healthier world resonates deeply with our mission, and we're truly grateful for the shared vision that we all embrace. We're proud to stand alongside with Gilead in the pursuit of healthier, a more equitable world. The Noche de las Memorias is grateful for the partnership and looks forward to continuing this impactful journey together. At this point, we're going to call up the panel. We're going to put together, I believe, unless you want me to call Zul up. You want Zul up? Okay. I'm going to have Zul come up here. We had to deviate a little bit because of the secretary, but come on. He's got size 12 feet. We had to go with it, right? So Zul is the president of the board, and he's got some nice things to say. It's all you.
Thank you, Laura. The staff, the board of directors, and community, thank you for your 19 years of hosting Noche de las Memorias. We cherish you, Laura. Thank you, Gilead, for supporting our organization and for sharing in our dreams for a healthier community. You have been and continue to be a strong partner to the Noche de las Memorias. We are so fortunate to have valuable partners who assist us in doing our work and in supporting our annual World AIDS Day, Noche de las Memorias. Please, let's thank our supporting sponsors. They are Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors, Hilda Solis, Molina Healthcare, Southern California Gas Company, Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, Kaiser Permanente, Office of Councilman Kevin De Leon, Pharma, Office of Councilmember Monica Rodriguez, and Charles Dunn, who is represented by our board member Eileen Kahn. Let's give a round of applause to all of our sponsors. Because of their support, tonight we have an amazing night in store for you. Thank you.
30 years ago this morning, a good friend and former colleague walked into the offices of the Secretary of State's office in downtown Los Angeles and filed incorporation papers for this organization. We called the organization the Wall Las Memorias. That same night, about 15 of us gathered right nearby in the evening on a cold December 1st, World AIDS Day, to remember those who passed away and also talk about how do we organize a community to get support for the AIDS monument. We ended that night with lots of crying, a lot of remembrance, and with a prayer. We have experienced so much the past 30 years. We have been able to create new programs, mentor so many staff and young leaders, and listen to the community and bond working relationships with the community to help address the issue of HIV and AIDS, improvement around health prevention, and also about addressing homophobia and transphobia. The Wall Las Memorias has made its mark, but we didn't do it alone. We did it with a number of gatekeepers in our community, many of you who are here tonight. Faith-based leaders, businesses, labor, Latino actors and celebrities, sports figures, staff, board members. We did it all because we were supposed to do it. So as we enjoy tonight's program, know that we are all invested in the future. We're here to stay because we found a place at the table and we're not leaving.
Good evening, everyone, and bienvenidos to the 30th annual Noche de Memorias. I'm County Supervisor Hilda Solis, and I'm proud to represent the 1st District of Los Angeles. I am sad that I couldn't join you in person, but I want to thank and congratulate my very dear friend, Richard Zaldivar, for the amazing work he has led for the past 3 decades. And tonight we have come together to honor and commemorate thousands of people whose lives have been taken by the horrific epidemic of HIV and AIDS. There were our fathers, our brothers, our sisters, our uncles, sons, co-workers, neighbors. They were our friends. And while the number of new HIV diagnoses are on the decline, we are now facing another threat, the STD epidemic. And to that end, I have introduced several motions to address this crisis by advocating and securing state and federal funding, requesting a plan of action, and adopting a plan to combat this epidemic by focusing on prevention, treatment, and reduction programs and services to STDs, including HIV, syphilis, gonorrhea, and chlamydia. I'm extremely thankful to the Wall Las Memorias because they have been an incredible partner and they provide essential health prevention programs and wellness services to our East Side communities. I remain committed to continue advocating for our LGBTQ+ residents and our Latino and Black populations who are disproportionately affected by this health crisis. With the support of organizations like the Walls and many others present here today, we can end this epidemic. Thank you very much.
Tonight is a special night as you gather to honor and remember the lives of loved ones who have passed away due to complications with HIV and AIDS. It's incredibly important that we remember their names and hold on to our memories of them as we work together to raise awareness. Having worked as a frontline nurse and physician assistant at the beginning of the AIDS crisis, I know how important it is for people to have access to educational resources and testing to stay healthy. I want to thank you for saving lives and for continuing to lead and embody the true Angelino spirit. Wishing you all the best.
Good evening. Alex Padilla, and it's an honor to join the Wall Las Memorias and everyone gathered for the 30th annual Noche de las Memorias on World AIDS Day. Today can be a painful reminder for Americans who still remember the real fear surrounding what was at one time not just a diagnosis, but a death sentence. or who recall the stigma that got in the way of progress for too long, or for anyone who still sees the face of a friend or loved one that was taken from us too soon. But it can also serve as a moment for healing when we recognize all the progress that's been made. That's exactly what happened 30 years ago when Richard Saldivar, alongside friends and allies, came together with a vision, not just of a monument in Lincoln Park, but of a future where stigma surrounding HIV and AIDS no longer existed, where loved ones would always be remembered, and no LGBTQ plus American feared rejection for reaching out for help. Now, back then, they knew that work wouldn't be easy. It would take 11 years of relentless advocacy before a monument was dedicated. I remember, I was a member of the Los Angeles City Council when I first met Richard. And even though Lincoln Park was not in my council district, I was proud to support the effort because I knew how important it was. And all these years later, the work to end the stigma, educate the community, and provide HIV prevention services continues. So today, I'm grateful that one day in 1993, Richard Saldivar had a dream that would turn into not just a monument, but a movement. And that today, the wall Las Memorias stands strong as a place to heal, to remember, and to recommit ourselves to ending this epidemic. Thank you.
Hello, friends. I'm Los Angeles County Assessor Jeff Prang, and it's truly a privilege to offer a few words on this momentous occasion, the 30th annual Noche de Las Memorias event hosted by the Wall Las Memorias. 30 years ago, Richard Saldivar had a vision to build an AIDS monument that would not only honor those lost to AIDS, but also challenge the stigma surrounding HIV/AIDS in the Latino community. I am proud to have served as a member of the board of directors, where I had a firsthand view of the great work of this important and impactful agency. Reflecting on the journey from that initial idea to the dedication of the Wall Las Memorias in 2004, we see a story of resilience, dedication, and community spirit. The Wall Las Memorias has been a beacon of empowerment, bringing together diverse communities to combat the bigotry associated with HIV/AIDS. It's not just a monument, it's a symbol of unity and acceptance. The Wall Las Memorias has not only provided essential HIV prevention services, but it's also expanded to reach into areas such as cancer awareness, substance abuse prevention, mental health services, and more. The organization has been a champion of social justice, addressing issues such as the methamphetamine crisis and actively participating in campaigns that promote the rights of the LGBTQ community. As we celebrate these 30 years of service, let's recognize the vision of the Wall, its founder, Richard Saldivar, and the entire team, including the board, staff, volunteers, and community members who built this organization into a national success story. Again, I extend my congratulations to the Wall Las Memorias on this significant milestone and look forward to its continuing mission of service to the community for the next 30 years. Congratulations.
I'm back. How's everyone doing? Good? We'd like to thank the people who sent congratulations on video, including U.S. Senator Alex Padilla, Supervisor Hilda Solis, LA County Assessor Jeffrey Prang. We truly appreciate that they took the time to do that. I know that Hilda had hoped to be here tonight, and she was not able to, so we're thinking of her. A lot of people have asked about the organization, how it started. You know, what was the kernel of the idea behind it that compelled it to be formed? When you think about it, people have ideas all the time. We all sit around, we talk to our friends, we talk to our associates, but getting something off the ground, that's a different deal. So we're going to hear from some of the people who have been so key to the Wall Las Memorias. Gentlemen, I don't think there are any ladies on the panel, right? All men? Oh, okay. Nice. Tell you a little bit about the panel as you take a chair. Alex Betancourt, one of the first clients of the organization. He was one of the original members of the Latino Men's Group. The weekly group was an HIV prevention program. He joined the organization in 1996 and became one of over 99 men who would attend the Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday night support groups for gay and bisexual men. John Echeveste is a former board chair for the organization, leading up to the construction of the AIDS Monument in 2003. He's also a longtime community leader and recently retired as the CEO of Plaza de la Cultura y Artes. Warm hand for John. Reverend Kathy Cooper Ledesma served on the board of directors and former vice chair of the board. She is the pastor of the Hollywood United Methodist Church. The church is also marking the 30th anniversary of the placement of a huge AIDS ribbon on the facade of the church, the first and only church to display such a ribbon. The church has a record of commitment to addressing HIV and AIDS. Eddie Martinez joined the organization in 1996. He was the first paid employee for the organization and was a staff member for 18 years. He last served as the Associate Director of the WA Las Memorias. He currently serves as Executive Director of the Latino Equality Alliance and is a member of the Huntington Park City Council. And last year, he served as its mayor. He attributes his personal growth to commitment and organizing to Richard, who taught everybody about boots on the ground, right? Enrique Topete has been with the organization for 20 years. He started out as an outreach worker in 2003, passing out condoms and HIV information at bars and other venues. Today, he is the organization's contracts and finance director. When he has the time, he helps guide the young staff members with their work. You even got the whistle blow. Our friend and inspiration, Richard Saldivar, who most of us know is the founder and executive director of the WA Las Memorias. Prior to his role at the WA Las Memorias, he served as the El Sereno field deputy to the legendary LA City Councilman Art Snyder. He also worked for LA City Attorney James Hahn. Richard also managed several political campaigns and even worked as a union screen extra. Does that mean you were on films? Wow. That's a little something I didn't know about you. All right. Okay. So now we're going to get to the questions. And, you know, Richard, I'm going to start with you. I want you to talk about what it was like 30 years ago. The secretary talked about how difficult it must have been for you, because the world is quite different today, right? People are more open. They're willing to engage in new concepts some of the time. But what did you face when you tried to do this 30 years ago?
So thank you for the question. What did I face? I don't know what I faced. I remember sharing my dream with a lot of folks, and I had a handful of people who believed in that dream. That was August of 1993, and by December 1st, which was our starting date of an organization, we had someone who donated an architectural design for a monument. And so, you know, in my life of my earlier years, I would start projects and never finish them. And that's something I'll share with everybody. But I knew I had to finish this. And so I did.
And Art Snyder was no slouch, right? To be an Irishman with red hair in an all-Latino district, I mean, you got to be doing something right, right?
I'll tell you, you know, I learned
so much from the former councilman, and I learned at the age of 21 the principles of governance and being engaged in community and being responsive to community. And so I held that. Yeah, it was a great learning experience, and I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah, we're grateful. We're grateful. Okay, Eddie Martinez, you came into the organization early on. What was it like, and what compelled you to join?
Well, it was about 27 years ago in 1996. At the time, I was a club promoter, and I was doing clubs on the east side to, having queer spaces for folks in the Latinx community. And there was one club promotion that was taking place in Whittier, and getting to know people, some friends of mine wanted me to meet this one gentleman who had a table doing outreach. So I went to that table, and it was this person, Richard Zaldivar, and he had a little replica of a monument, and he was telling the story about why he wanted to build this monument to end the stigma, a place for it to heal. Obviously, being a gay Latino at the time, AIDS was a scary thing. It was like I was afraid. I came into a world where that was just the way of life. So the next day, he invited me to come to his office in Bow Heights, and I came with my boyfriend at the time, and he told the story about more why he really wanted to see this in the community. And he also talked about he was doing this softball fundraiser, and he said he needed to help to reach out to the Latina LGBTQ community, which was my market as a club promoter. So he asked me if I wanted to help him promote that event, market the event. And when that event ended, he asked me if I wanted to be a community organizer. Not doing anything during the day. I said, why not? Eventually, I got tired of the club promotion, and I did not know at that time that really changed the direction of my career and of my life, and it really pushed me to really be out there and advocate for community health. And I owe this all to Richard and this organization that has really made who I am today. So I think it's important.
That's beautiful. So he's been a true mentor to you, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's the number one mentor in my life.
A lot of us feel that way. Yeah. Alex Bentoncourt, you were one of the first members of the Latino men's group. What was that about, and why did you join? And my goodness, I can't imagine what you encountered.
Richard came to me, and he asked me to join the Latino men's group. And I believe I was at the first meeting with him. Growing up gay and Latino in this part of town in the 80s and 90s was really difficult, isolating and lonely. And he came to me and said, what do you think? What do you feel? What is your experience? And it floored me. Nobody had ever asked me that. I didn't even think my experience mattered. I learned community there. I went to the meetings, and all of a sudden more men started showing up that were like me, that had the same experience that I did, and the isolation and the loneliness went away. And this community of men was created where we supported each other and loved each other. In October of 1996, I tested positive, and I'll never forget that day. I thought I was going to die. And the first thing I did after leaving the doctor's office was I went to the wall. And I remember the support that I got from the group of men that were there changed everything. I often think to myself, if I hadn't had that support at that point in time, a bad decision that I could have made without having somebody to hold me and tell me it was going to be okay. And I've often said to many people, and I've said this to Richard before, the organization saved my life. Richard saved my life with what he created and the men that he helped believe in themselves and support each other. I'm 56 years old today, and I never thought I'd be 56 years old. And that is a result of the work that Richard and people like Richard have done, both in building community and in the medical advancements that we have in this disease.
It really is the power of community, right? That we need to be with other people. Yeah, that's beautiful. John, you had a unique role as the board chair. You were a powerful leader in the Latino community. And why did you think it was time to join the board of directors?
Well, there's a very simple, short answer to that. It's because Richard asked me to. And having known Richard for about 10, 12 years before that time, in his role working for Councilman Snyder, and just by the way, Councilman Snyder gets a lot of credit, but he gets that credit because he had Richard working for him in the community, doing all the hard work out there. So Richard gets much of the credit for that as well. So Richard was working for the councilman. I was working at the time at Telecu in East LA, and had come to know Richard. We worked on several projects together. We worked on political campaigns together, and I knew his degree of passion, commitment to get things done and to work in the best interest of the community. And you have to remember that back in that era, back when AIDS had first come on the scene nationally, back in the 80s, we were in a real state of turmoil, of fear, of confusion about what this was all about and how we were going to deal with it. And Latinos, of course, were ahead of the curve as far as those who were impacted directly by the disease, but we were behind the curve in terms of understanding what it was all about. And what Richard wanted to do was elevate that conversation, because without discussion and education and understanding, you can't deal with the issue. So that was what the wall was all about, and that's what appealed to me and why I wanted to get involved with it. And as it has been said previously, Richard is tenacious. Richard elevates the art of stubbornness to a virtue, okay? And it becomes perseverance, okay? And we faced, in those initial years, opposition from the community, from the political establishment. Eddie knows, he was on the front lines there. From the funding community, just about everywhere we turned, there were a lot of obstacles that we had to overcome. Richard maintained that vision. He maintained that drive to see the project through. He was relentless in that regard. And it's that passion, that commitment, that drive, that vision that continues to sustain the organization, and why it has grown to become such an important part of our community in serving the HIV/AIDS Latino gay community. So, and I thank Richard and congratulate him for that, and was happy to be a small part of it.
Reverend Ledesma, you've been very important to the wall, serving on boards and being a spiritual voice. How much do you think this organization has helped the community, and maybe specifically the faith community?
Well, I think it's been a natural partnership between the faith community and the wall. As you looked at the video, you saw a number of people in collars. I don't wear a collar, but I'm not opposed to them. But you saw religious folk from the outset as part of the journey. And for our congregation, well, for other congregations who may not be as where we are at Hollywood, the wall has been a wonderful resource. A resource for folks, for either for the men's group, or for testing, or for outreach. But it's also been for us a way of going the next step. for many years, Strikeout AIDS was a thing at Dodger Stadium, and we, parts of our congregation, helped to form that red ribbon on the field at Dodger Stadium. And to be able to have that kind of a witness in partnership with the wall was very meaningful to our folks. The last thing is that I remember being on the board in the aughts of some sort, and I think the entire board and staff could fit in the downstairs of Avenue 56. Yeah. That's not true today. Just as the reality of HIV and has evolved over the last 30 years, the reality of the agency has grown in the organization. And that's just simply a tribute to Richard Zaldivar.
Yeah, so true. I think you should wear a collar. All right. Eddie, AIDS was a death sentence, of course. Many people were terrified of it, even shunned their own loved ones, right? So how much do you think the wall has done to tear down those stereotypical concepts of not only AIDS, HIV, but gays?
Well, I mean, first of all, the monument provided a space of healing and open visibility, awareness that AIDS is real. It's here in the community, and we can't not look away. And it got a community to have a conversation. Even at the times when there was opposition, it created a conversation. And through that conversation, you got a lot of people who got educated and became more active to either prevent their bodies from getting HIV, or to take care of your body if you have HIV, or to love someone if they have HIV and AIDS. And also for the gay Latino community, the wall has been able to provide a space for, back then, coming out, as I mentioned earlier, we came out to where AIDS was, okay, that's reality. It was a death sentence. We were scared. There was West Hollywood, but we grew up on the East Side. And so the wall recognized that, us being from the East Side, we needed to have a safe space, a healing place. And so the wall was able to provide that and allow men just to come together and just talk about, what it is to be Catholic, to come from families who come from Latin America, and what does that mean to be existing in this world. And I think the wall definitely had a tremendous impact on the lives of so many families here on the East Side. Well, actually, LA County, California.
That's beautiful.
U.S.
The world.
The world.
Enrique, I know you've been with the group since 2003. Just a few highlights.
Well, I started back in 2003. I was out in the clubs. I think they were doing outreach there. So I know Ariel Rivera was my manager at that point, but I met him at a club. They were doing some surveys. He said he needed help recruiting men to fill out the surveys. So I went out and I'm like, let me bring you 5 people. So I went on there. I brought him 5 people to fill out his survey. And from there, he's all like, we're hiring. So I was just like, oh, cool. So honestly, when I stepped into the Wall Las Memorias project, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Richard often tells me, when I joined, I was bouncing off the walls. They did a really good job in, using my energy I was out in the clubs. I was, recruiting people, bringing them into the men's group. At the point when I joined, there was 3 groups going on at once. So we were very busy. This was before social media. So a lot of the contact that we had as gay men was in the clubs, out in the community, at the parks, AOL, if you all remember AOL, the cruising spots, I know. We used to show up with baskets with condoms and lube and water and snacks because people get thirsty, So that was my job, and I loved it. And slowly, I started organizing Strikeout AIDS. I started organizing a lot of events. I got very involved with the Tijuana AIDS Hospice. It gave me an outlet to serve my community without me knowing it. I think at that point, I wanted to do something. I had no idea what I was doing with my life. I hate numbers, by the way, and I oversee finances. Just, Paulina, cover your ears. it's just, if any of you want to learn, work for a nonprofit, like you get so many tools and you're going to be doing things that you never had idea you'll be doing. And it's a really good experience. And I'm very appreciative to the wall, to the people I've met throughout the years. And it's been 20 years. So I love the agency. Thank you, Richard. Thank you.
That's awesome. Last question, and it goes to Richard, the founder. 30 years, here we are. I don't know, could you have ever envisioned what this grew into? We look at this beautiful tent tonight, all these people showing up, major political figures coming in via Zoom from DC. I mean, it's a big deal. Could you have envisioned this, Richard?
No, I could never have envisioned it. All I wanted to do was work. All I wanted to do was get the monument up. And as the needs came in front of us, I wanted to resolve it. I live a fast life. I don't have time to say no. And so my destiny is to address the issues that really are important to our community so we can save lives and make this place a better place and a healthier place in which to live. And I'm just thankful to God for giving me that opportunity. It's one day at a time, one challenge at a time, and we get to the end of those challenges when we've conquered and have a victory in front of us.
Mm-hmm. Well, you've had a lot of victories. I think you should take a victory lap, don't you guys?
Thank you.
That is awesome. Well, that concludes the panel portion. We're now going to hear from Richard, so we're going to move the furniture around a little bit here, right? And Richard's going to, right? Richard's going to give us a talk. Thank you, everybody who was on the panel. All groundbreakers in their own way.
So I want to, first of all, thank Laura Diaz for 19 years coming out. Give a round of applause. You know, her job is not easy as a journalist, and she runs from story to story, and sometimes she's behind the desk, but she's committed to community, and that says a lot about her. For her to do this 19 years, tonight is warm compared to the past, and my board member says yes. I see Eileen says yes. But when we dedicated the monument the first time, we had 1,500 people here, where we had the Gay Men's Chorus and Dionne Warwick. It was 38 degrees, and there was no tents, and there was no heaters. And so I'm grateful that we're in this place today. But talking about gratitude, again, I want to say thank you to Gilead Sciences for their continuous support, not only to our organization, but to the HIV community and throughout the world. You guys have done an incredible job of helping us stay healthy, and that's what's really important. Thank you so much. I want to thank our other friends who have been very supportive, and I love the fact that some of them have come here and says, this is the best event I ever come to on behalf of my company. And I think he knows who he is. But I want to thank Molina Healthcare, Los Angeles County Supervisor Hilda Solis, Pharma, Southern California Gas Company, Optum, Cedars-Sinai, Charles Dunn, the Office of Councilman Kevin De Leon, and the Office of Councilmember Monica Rodriguez, and a special thank you to Kaiser. Kaiser was our first sponsor many years ago for this event. So I want to say thank you. You know, we started this organization this night not too far away from where the monument is. And Laura asked a great question. Did I envision this happening? I knew we were going to build a monument. I didn't know we would be doing all this work in the community that we are today. And so it is important that I share this when I go out and I talk to a lot of college students. It's important to have a dream, whether it's in your career or your personal life. And if you have that dream in your heart, in your soul, then it's important to live out that dream. That's why we have dreams, and this has been mine. This has been my dream. And so this coming year, we're going to do a lot of special events. There's going to be a lot of talks. We're looking, and I want to say thank you ahead of time to Councilman De Leon for his financial support to this organization. Because of him, we're looking at bringing on someone who will help me write a book, the story about the Wall Las Memorias. Because it is, because wherever we go throughout this country at different conferences, people admire the work that we do, but they want to know, how did you do it? So we do a lot of training sometimes, a lot of conversations. But we're also thankful to him because of him, again, we now have the funding to move this monument virtually. So it'll be online, so people who submitted names from far away, and we have a few tonight who submitted names from Madrid, Spain. So we wanted them to be able to walk through the monument and see those names. We're looking at expanding our work into mental health and continue to expand our work into mental health and mental health prevention. And we're very close to signing a major contract that will provide us to do work in the Latino and the LGBTQ around mental health prevention out in the community. And our goal is to expand our services into actually treatment services in the near future. But that's not all. We also are working hard, thanks to Zul Sarani and the folks at Cedars, is to really look at cancer and how it's impacting our communities in the Latino and LGBTQ, and provide education and awareness and opportunities for treatment services. And then lastly, I think the end of the day that we talk about rights. It's really important when we talk about LGBT rights, we talk about immigrant rights, we talk about human rights that are being violated. We're at the time in our country where many of our rights are being threatened. And we're talking about preserving and promoting democracy that we all know. You can't organize union workers if we don't have rights. They cannot organize for better wages. We cannot organize for LGBT rights unless we have those freedoms, and those freedoms are protected through democratic norms. So it's really important that we, in our journey to wake up the community and say, let's have a greater conversation how we protect the principles of democracy. And I also want to acknowledge our board members who are here today. Board members, will you please stand up and take a bow and give a round of applause to our board members. They're an amazing board. I have an amazing staff, and we just want to say thank you for tonight. I guess I go next. Do I continue going, Laura? Huh? It's been a long night. Thank you for your patience. But having the secretary up here was kind of threw us off. But let's give another round of applause for Laura Diaz. Yes.
I love you, Richard. You know I do. At this point, we'd like to call up to the stage the council member who represents the district. Though he recently inherited the Las Memorias AIDS monument last year, Richard just mentioned him, he's wasted no time and began working extremely hard to provide funding for both the monument and to expand operational services for the organization. He's truly been a great partner. Let's give a warm welcome to the 14th District LA City Council member, Kevin De Leon, also known as KDL.
How are we feeling tonight? We're going to have to do a little bit of that. How are we feeling tonight? First of all, I want to say to the executive staff, to the board members of the Wall, Las Memorias, to an incredible leader, I believe an iconic figure, Richard Salivar, thank you very much for your incredible leadership. Thank you for your stewardship, your commitment to our community. I want to thank all the men and women who have come here today. I want to also recognize our elected officials who will be on the stage shortly, our Assemblywoman Wendy Carrillo, as well as Marilena Durazo. I know that Jeffrey Prang was here just a few moments ago. I don't know if that was artificial intelligence that was up on the screen when he was actually physically sitting there. Yeah, we saw him up on the screen. And I also want to recognize the former council member who represented this area geographically before the last redistricting. That is no other than council member and state senator Gil Cedillo as well too, a strong supporter. Listen, I had a speech here, but I'm going to sort of kind of chuck it, and I don't want to upset my comms director who may be around here somewhere, Pete Brown, but I just want to just share a few words because Javier, a few moments ago, said something that stuck with me, which was, he said the word intentional. And the first time I met Richard Salivar was, almost 20 years ago. It was when you were at 56 and Figueroa in Highland Park. And that was the first time we met. And I know at the time it was Gil Cedillo who introduced me to you at the time. And it is very intentional that the Wall Las Memorias is in Northeast East LA. It is very intentional that it was at one time on 56th and Figueroa. It's very intentional that it is in Boyle Heights. And it is intentional that this physical structure that we know as the Wall Las Memorias is right here in Lincoln Park, in Lincoln Heights. It's intentional because I heard Eddie say a few moments ago, that gap, that gulf, that chasm, that regardless if we're all members of the LGBTQIA plus community, it exists between the west side and the east side. So it wasn't just the fear of coming out back in the day, because one had just mentioned back in the 80s, to come out, whether you're gay, you're lesbian, bisexual, transgender, you can only imagine. But everyone has those challenges in coming out, but much more profoundly difficult and challenging on the east side, or in Latino families, whether it be the Catholic Church, whether it be culture and community, the stereotypes, much more profoundly difficult. And also the discrimination, the profound discrimination within the LGBTQI plus communities as well. And that's why the Wall Las Memorias is here on the east side, because we had no one advocating. We had no one being the sharp tip of the spear advocating for Latino and Latina LGBTQIA plus queer community. And that's why the Wall Las Memorias is here in Lincoln Heights. And that's why we will always be indebted in support of you, my friend. Richard Salivar, you stood tall, you stood strong. You're a pillar, you're a beacon of hope and opportunity in a very fragile, uncertain world. Even more so, and I want to use this as a parallel because a few years ago we helped organize with other folks present here today the first LGBTQIA Pride Festival march, if you will, not march, but parade. Where? In Boyle Heights on 1st Street. And truth be told, we just had like a couple folks. That's it. And I remember remarking to my staff, pues casi no hay nadie aquí. And then the next year, we had a little more, but not that many more. And there was conversations of folks like, well, maybe we shouldn't sponsor the Pride, parade any longer here on the east side, specifically, in Boyle Heights, in comparison to the Pride Festival parade in West Hollywood. And then I thought to myself, and I said, no. Even if we have 5, 10, 15, 20 people on the sidewalks, this movement will grow on the east side in Ball Heights. And there's a reason why, as we know. How profoundly difficult, how painful it is within our own communities for folks to come out. And that's why we will always stay committed. We will always and never waver at all whatsoever in our steadfast commitment to our LGBTQIA plus brothers and sisters. To each and every one of you, know that we stand with you. The challenges are profound, they're deep, they're real, and they had not subsided. And just recently, and I won't go too much into details, but there was a threat to take away money away from the wall Las Memorias, to the tune of $500,000. But we relented, and I can tell you one thing right now. Richard Salivar is a hell of an organizer, because he took so many folks down to City Hall, spoke from the top of his lungs for folks to demand that we stand steadfast and make sure that we actually budget that money and move forward with that money. And guess what? We did. We didn't waver. And that's why we're going to move forward with this project. That's why we'll never waver in our commitment to each and every one of you. I just can say this finally, is that I'm so honored to be here with all of you. We remain in this struggle together. We will continue this fight together. We will move forward. We'll move onwards together. And always know that you have a friend in solidarity, a friend in spirit with each and every one of you until we get victory, as we defeat HIV, as we defeat the AIDS, as we move forward and bringing our communities together, regardless of who you are, regardless of where you come from, regardless of the color of your skin, which God you pray to, and regardless of who you love. We're all human beings that deserve dignity and respect. Muchas gracias a todos. Buenas noches. Gracias.
Thank you, Councilman. We really appreciate your words. You alluded to it, Richard alluded to it. One of the key people who helped the wall in the early stages, former City Councilman Gil Cedillo, and he's here tonight. Richard would like you to come up and say a few words. Gil Cedillo was really, really important in getting those funds early on so that the wall could be built. And in any fight in the beginning stages, it's tough. So let's give a warm hand for former Councilman Gil Cedillo. How you doing?
Okay. What's up, everybody? Actually, I have notes here. First of all, thank you, Richard. Thank you, the board. Thank you all for being here. You have a choice, and today you made the choice of leadership. And Richard, I want to thank you for your leadership. You're an intellectual, you're a visionary, and you're a man of action. Laura earlier asked, what was it like in the beginning? And I'll tell you what it was like. I was sitting at my desk after 5 o'clock down on Washington and Toberman, and I opened the mail, and it was a typed letter. That's how far back this goes. And it was sent to me, and it talked about the vision of the wall Las Memorias. What did I know? So I looked at it. I said, wow, this sounds great. I said, well, let me call this man. And I called after work, and Richard answered. I was shocked. I thought I was going to leave a message. And Richard answered, and he talked about his vision. And you could just feel the sincerity, the power, the force of his vision and his commitment then and there. And it was amazing. And I had a great experience with the community. My uncle was a bartender down at 4th and Main, Uncle Bob. Some people may know him if you're older. And at Barcito. So, our family was in the mix. My wife, Ruby, had been on American Bandstand. Tony Marcus is here. He's one of her dance partners. And so we were very familiar with the community. And so I thought, wow. And I thought about how horrible AIDS had been to our community. My mom's house was actually the house where every funeral we would go to. And it was horrible.
And it was amazing because we would sit around and then we would have another funeral, and then somebody who had been in the circle would be gone. And then we'd have another funeral and somebody would be gone. And it was like, and so that came back to me as I called Richard that night. And I thought, well, this is great. And so I filled out the forms and I took it to my union board and I thought, this is great. And my board was very progressive. I was the head of Local 660 SEIU, and we had the nurses, and we had fought the year before for a great contract. We had a campaign called Rolling Thunder. We had a lot of visibility. So I thought, this is going to be great. And so I took the proposal, and my board loved it. And we had members of the community who were there and who spoke up and said, this is what the union should be doing. And I thought, this is great. And so we made our first check. And I thought, wow. I didn't realize Richard had invited me to a fundraiser on a Sunday up in Hollywood. And I remember taking my mom and my wife. And then I thought, I was flattered. And he had some artwork that he gave us. And he said, we were the only union who did that. I thought, well, wait a minute. I thought everybody would do this. But at that point, it was reflective of the awareness, of the challenges, and of the courage that it took Richard to continue to put forth his vision and to move it forward. Well, of course, life changes. And I went to Sacramento. I was a member of the legislature. And I remember Richard would work so hard. I don't know if you guys remember him selling T-shirts, like at the jazz concerts and probably at the bars and at the festivals. And he would be there fundraising. And I thought, man, this guy is so committed to this. As he said, you heard him say, he started a lot of projects, but this one was going to be finished. And so working with him and the board, we were able to get funding. First for $1 million, then $500,000, $400,000. The first funding for the monument, the Wall Las Memorias. And I remember us being here when we opened it up, Mayor Jim Hahn, Ed Reyes. I remember the intensity of the fights. There was a particular brilliance of Richard of bringing in the faith-based community. And what that reflects is that Richard isn't about a slogan. He's not about a moment. Richard is about building an institution. And that is a true man of action, a man who's building a foundation for something that will be here when we're gone, both in the monument and the legacy of the work, of the lives saved. And so, Richard, I want to thank you. I remember then coming back to the city, and we were able to redo it, re-landscape it. I'm so proud of it. I am so proud of the wall, Las Memorias, and the monument. I remember I was invited to the WHO in Mexico City. I thought, we accept. But I thought, I'm not going to go. I'll send Richard. And so the representative of our office at the WHO was the most appropriate spokesperson on behalf of Latinos struggling with AIDS, and at the time also being outspoken on the challenges of methamphetamine. And I love him for that, because people can talk about casually the drug use and drug abuse, but what they don't see are the children who are born in hospitals every day with those challenges through their birth. And so Richard is a humanitarian. He is a man, as Eddie said, I remember Eddie working with our office. He is a man not just of this community, which he loves, which he represents, but a man of this nation and a man of the world. And so, Richard, I love you. I thank you for your leadership. You are iconic. You are our voice, and you are our leader. And I thank you. It's been a blessing to collaborate with you and to work with you. And I look forward, as Senator De Leon said, you have put and pushed the past behind us, and we are looking forward to the future. You are that change agent that we've been waiting for. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Gil. I know Richard really appreciates you being there early on in the fight. We are, of course, running a little bit behind, so we're going to try to speed things up a bit, and I'd like to call the next two people to come up and share whatever message they want to get out tonight, but we are please asking people to try to keep it to a minute, which my producer tells me a lot too, and we'll see how that goes. The next person, if you could please come up. He's so much a part of the Las Memorias family. He's known throughout the nation as a public health leader. He is the director of the HIV STDs for the LA County of Health Services, Mr. Mario Perez. Please come up, Mario. Good to see you, my friend. And also calling up to the stage, State Assembly Member Wendy Carrillo. She represents the 52nd District where the monument stands. And the Assembly Member represents the Lincoln Heights community. Assembly Member Carrillo, I hope you both enjoy each having a minute. Okay.
Gracias, Laura. Muy buenas noches a todos. It is an honor to join you this evening for this solemn commemoration. This year's World AIDS Day theme is simple: remember and commit, recordar y comprometer. Today we remember the first Latino men's groups, sponsored and facilitated by the Wall in the 1990s, during an era where hope was scarce and despair was abundant. Tonight, we commit to creating and sustaining more opportunities to foster human connection and supporting spaces where stigma, shame, homophobia, and transphobia cannot thrive. Today, we remember the days before antiretroviral therapy, when thousands of residents each year progress with HIV infection and succumb to AIDS. Tonight, we commit to helping our brothers and sisters confront and tackle the numerous and complex barriers that impact their ability to engage in care and consistently take highly effective and life-saving antiretroviral therapy. Barriers that include substance use, vergüenza, untreated mental illness, miedo, and complicated healthcare delivery systems. Today, we remember the days when the Ryan White program and other critical public health programs enjoyed bipartisan and bicameral support in Washington, D.C. Tonight, we commit to a level of advocacy that ensures that the Ending the HIV Epidemic Initiative, the Ryan White program, LGBTQ rights, and sexual and reproductive health services no longer serve as bargaining chips in partisan politics inside the Beltway. Today, we remember the days when the Dodgers would host Strikeout AIDS at Dodger Stadium, an event sponsored by the Las Memorias, and the important role that our treasured institutions play in acceptance, support, and allyship of the communities most impacted by HIV and AIDS. Tonight, we commit to living by the adage of the great Dodgers second baseman Jackie Robinson: a life is not important except in the impact it has on other lives. Today, we remember when there was a robust level of direct-to-consumer advertising for Truvada, a critical PrEP option for both women and men. Today, at a moment where there is an increase in HIV risk and new HIV infections among Black and brown women in different parts of our county, we commit to ensuring and insisting that all available commercial marketing and messaging tools for PrEP options that benefit women are restored and expanded, including in Spanish. Today, we remember the people whose names are on the walls among us, and the thousands more that are in our hearts and memories. Tonight, on behalf of the County of Los Angeles, its Department of Public Health, and its Division of HIV and STD Programs, I congratulate Richard and our partners at the Las Memorias for hosting its 30th Noche de las Memorias event, a wonderful, wonderful milestone. 30 years is a testament to your tenacity, passion, undying commitment, and unmatched community organizing. Felicidades y gracias. Laura, I think that was a minute and a half.
Thank you and good evening. My name is Wendy Carrillo. I proudly represent this community, Lincoln Heights community, in your California State Assembly. 40 years ago, Los Angeles County was among several major metropolis areas in the United States to report the first documented cases of what is now known as the HIV and AIDS epidemic. Today, approximately 1.2 million people in the U.S. are living with HIV, and about 13% of them don't know that they need treatment. In LA County, more than 60 people are living with HIV, many of whom are living successful lives because of treatment. In 2021, there were 32,100 estimated new HIV infections in the United States. Latinos make up 18% of the US population, but account for 29% of new infections. Many of our most marginalized and disenfranchised residents can fight against HIV and AIDS through the combined access of life-saving treatment and an array of services that improves access to housing, healthcare, mental health services, and the fight against food insecurity. As of 2018, about 700,000 people have died because of HIV and AIDS in the United States since the beginning of the epidemic, and nearly 13,000 people die each year of AIDS in the United States. With improved treatment, awareness, and reducing the stigma of HIV and AIDS, death rates have significantly declined for the Latino community. Organizations like the Wall of Las Memorias have taken the initiative and dedication to serving Latino, LGBTQ+, and other underserved populations through advocacy, education, and building the next generation of leadership. Congratulations to the Wall of Las Memorias and 30 years of service, and many congratulations to our fearless leader, Richard Saldivar, for his tenacity and his vision. Today, on World AIDS Day and Noche de las Memorias, it serves as a reminder of all of whom we have lost and as a push to continue the fight against HIV and AIDS. Thank you for the opportunity to join you tonight. I do have a couple of words in Spanish. Buenas noches, mi nombre es Wendy Carrillo y orgullosamente represento esta comunidad en la Asamblea Estatal de California. Hace 40 años, el condado de Los Ángeles fue una de las primeras áreas de los Estados Unidos que reportaron los primeros casos documentados de lo que ahora conocemos como el virus de VIH y SIDA. Hoy en día, más de 60,000 personas viven con el VIH en el condado de Los Ángeles y muchas están viviendo vidas controladas y buenas gracias a tratamiento. Hoy en día, aproximadamente 1.2 millones de personas en los Estados Unidos viven con el virus y alrededor de 13% de ellos no saben que necesitan tratamiento. En el condado de Los Ángeles hay aproximadamente 60,000 personas viviendo con el virus. Muchos viven vidas saludables y largas. En el 2021 se estima que hubieron aproximadamente casi 32,100 nuevas infecciones del virus en los Estados Unidos. La comunidad latina constituye solamente 18% de la población de los Estados Unidos, pero representamos casi 29% de las nuevas infecciones del VIH. Muchos de nuestros residentes más marginados y privados de los derechos pueden lograr una vida mejor con el acceso a tratamiento que salva sus vidas y una variedad de servicios que pueden mejorar el acceso al sistema de salud, salud mental, física, estabilidad de vivienda y servicios de alimentos y nutrición. En el año 2018, alrededor de 700,000 personas han muerto del VIH y SIDA a través de los Estados Unidos desde el comienzo de la epidemia, y casi 13,000 personas mueren cada año por SIDA. Con mejores tratamientos contra el virus, las tasas de mortalidad han disminuido significativamente para nuestra comunidad latina. Organizaciones como The Wall of Las Memorias han tomado la iniciativa y la dedicación de servir a nuestra comunidad latina, la comunidad LGBT, y a través de promoción, la educación y la construcción de una nueva generación de liderazgo para poder avanzar a nuestra comunidad. Felicidades a todos ustedes que se encuentran aquí hoy, a nuestro líder, Richard Saldivar, y en esta noche de memorias a través del Día de Reconocimiento del SIDA a través mundial, que este día, donde celebramos 30 años de servicio y liderazgo de Wall of Las Memorias, sirva como un recordatorio de todos aquellos que hemos perdido a través de esta epidemia y como impulso para continuar la lucha contra el SIDA. Gracias por la oportunidad de participar con ustedes esta noche y que Dios los bendiga. Gracias.
All right, let's give them another warm hand. We know it's getting late. We're trying to keep things moving. We have another distinguished guest here tonight, the Honorable Maria Elena Durazo. Senator Durazo is a lifelong labor leader who has dedicated her life to workers. She's obviously just a heavyweight in organized labor. She represents the 26th Senate District for the state of California. A warm welcome for the state senator.
Don't give me 30 seconds either. Just a real quick saludos a Richard, saludos a the Wall Las Memorias, and to share with you this, just a few days ago, we were here, my staff from Sacramento and the Los Angeles District Office came to visit this beautiful monument as part of our staff retreat, as part of understanding the history of Los Angeles, especially in my district and especially here, and the Wall Las Memorias had to be a part of that. So we were just here. I know that this wall was created at a time when many loved ones were dying. This is a way to keep their memory alive. I remember very distinctly being in Lincoln Heights at and on the LA City Parks and Recreations Commission when the issue of building the wall came to us. And we had the memory I have the most, Richard, is over at the Lincoln Heights Rec Center. And I want to tell you that it was extremely depressing and sad to hear comments that were so full of hate, so homophobic. For me to hear my Latino community, members of my Latino community, of course not everyone, but some members of the Latino community speak that way was really heartbreaking. And yet at the same time, I see las mamás, las abuelitas, las tías, family members who were there in support of the Wall Las Memorias. And so who won out? Those who led with love, those who led with affection, those were the ones who beat out those who were there with hate. And Richard taught me a lot about organizing, because he didn't go to just the usual suspects. He went to everyone. And everyone had to be a part of this movement. Everyone had to be a part of raising the issue of HIV and AIDS and how to take it on. Not to run from it, not to hide from it, not to be afraid of it, but to take it on. And this came at a time also when, in my union, we were fighting for health care coverage. And so to me, it was like, wait a minute, we want health care coverage for people who are suffering and people who are dying, especially in the Latino community, especially in communities of color, the way that we were fighting for in our union for housekeepers and cooks and dishwashers. So I made the connection. This was one fight. This was one fight for what's right, for what's fair, what's a human right, and that is health care and health care for everyone. So that's what, to me, it was all about. And I'm very grateful to have been a part and been able to be at Richard's side as he led us and led our community to be where we are today. We know because there are hundreds of pieces of legislation, anti-LGBTQ plus legislation being introduced all over the country. Hate isn't over against this community. Hate crimes, hate, and through legislation, imagine that, still happening in the year 2023. So we've come a long way, baby, but we've got a long way to go. We're going to keep on fighting for what's right in our community. Gracias.
Thank you so much, Senator. How about some music? You ready? Okay. Well, it's my honor to introduce to the stage Mario Bryant. Last year, we were so lucky to have an amazing voice to our program. He recently performed the national anthem before 90,000 people at the Rose Bowl at an international soccer match. So we're so fortunate he's back here with us tonight. He's going to perform a song that resonates with so many of the folks who played a role at the wall. To start an organization is not easy. To be around to celebrate an organization 30 years later, my goodness, who could ever imagine? Well, that's a great accomplishment, and we're here to welcome Mario Bryant, nationally acclaimed singer, to our stage. Mario. Welcome back.
Now the end is near, and so I'll take the final curtain. My friend, I'll say it clear, I'll state my case, from which I'm certain. I live a life that's full. I traveled each and every highway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way. Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I did what I had to do, and I saw it through without exemption. I planned each charted course, each careful step along life's byway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way. Yes, there were times I'm sure you knew that you bit off more than you can chew, but through it all, when there was doubt, I ate it up and spit it out. I faced them all, and I was tall and did it my way. I loved, I laughed, I cried to share my faith to losing. And now, as tears subside, I find it all so amusing just to think I did all that. And I must say, not in a shy way, oh no, not me. I did it my way. For what he got? If not himself, then he has not to say the things he truly feels, and not the words of one who kneels. The record shows, and I took the blows and did it my way. Yes, it was my way. Thank you.
Okay, another warm hand. Mario Bryant. Woo! We are going to do a segue here. We're turning over to a more soulful moment. We'd like to call up two members of the staff that will read the new names that have been added to the monument. We'd like to invite Elba Aguilar and Miguel Rodriguez to join us on stage.
Good evening, everyone.
Buenas noches a todos.
Alfonso Pinet Garnica,
Henry Vini Estrada.
Devlin Powell,
Luis Rodríguez Elías.
Joel R. Working,
Joseph García.
Edward Eddie Boy Fernandez,
Stuart España.
Anthony Sendejas,
Charlie A. Rivera.
Mary Pat Tunison,
Víctor Franco.
Charles Allen Rivera,
Michael Carranza.
Angel Menendez Frey,
Mark Anthony Rangel.
Michael Edward Nunes,
Mundo Mesa.
Raidel Pulido,
Glenn Henry Spencer.
Roy Francis Durant,
Eduardo Eddie Hernández.
Alexander Carey Brewer,
Francisco Javier Ruiz Gutiérrez.
Eric James Fernandez.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much.
How's everyone doing? Good? All right. You guys are in for a treat.
Muy buenas noches, ¿cómo están? Gracias por la invitación, una noche tan emotiva. Such a special night. Thank you for having us. Thank you for being here. La tristeza hay de mis ojos que lloran en silencio por tu adiós. Me miro en el espejo y veo en mi rostro el tiempo que he sufrido por tu adiós. Obligo a que te olvide el pensamiento, pues siempre estoy pensando en el ayer. Prefiero estar dormido que despierto, de tanto que me duele que no estés. Como quisiera que tú vivieras, que tus ojitos jamás se hubieran cerrado nunca, y estar mirándolos, amor eterno e inolvidable. Tarde o temprano estaré contigo para seguir amándonos. ¡Ay, amor! Un aplauso que se oiga hasta el cielo, por favor. Yo he sufrido tanto por tu ausencia, desde ese día hasta hoy no soy feliz, y aunque tengo tranquila mi conciencia, sé que pude haber yo hecho más por ti. Obscura soledad estoy viviendo, la misma soledad de tu sepulcro. Tú eres el amor del cual yo tengo el más triste recuerdo de Acapulco. Como quisiera que tú vivieras, que tus ojitos jamás se hubieran cerrado nunca, y estar mirándolos, amor eterno e inolvidable. Tarde o temprano estaré contigo para seguir amándonos. ¡Se oiga! Amor eterno, eterno. Muchísimas gracias. Un aplauso para el mariachi, que se oiga, por favor.
So as we get to this part of the program, and we're going to kind of speed it up because I know everybody wants to go home and get into bed with pajamas, hot chocolate, maybe stop by at In-N-Out Burger, right? Right? Yeah. So, but you know, This is about those names and all those who passed away, and this is what we do every year, and some of you shake your head, you know what we're doing. This is the opportunity that we get to remember those who... So, this is the testimonies, those folks who lost someone to AIDS. Who wants to help us out tonight and get started? Someone who passed away, and I'll hold the mic.
I'm going to say their names because there's many. Dino Fenenos, Mario Rechside, Ralph Laird, Bobby and Billy, my dear friends. Thank you.
Next, thank you, Brenda. This is the time to do it, folks.
I'm here on behalf of my uncle who, he passed in 1990 when it was a time where you didn't share what you had because you were afraid of being judged or discriminated against. So he died quietly in our home. He came to us and said, I have cancer. It opened up our eyes to a lot of things. We had been doing a lot of research back then, but he couldn't speak it. So we're here now speaking it for him. His name's on the wall for many, many years already. And the fight's not over. We're with you. I currently work for a homeless organization who, one of the programs is harm reduction. And this is why we do it.
Love that message. Thank you so much. Wow. Anybody else?
You were gracious enough to include my parents' names, Larry and Carmen Fernandez, who are both on the wall. And I have been in the HIV service community in honor of my parents and my family for the last 30 plus years. And I appreciate all the work that you do, and continued blessings and continued success.
Thank you, and thank you for your service.
Sí, en español lo voy a hablar. Mi papá murió en el 2007. Nadie sabía que lo que tenía. Cayó al hospital y era un hombre mexicano macho, como que ellos no les pasa nada. Y cayó tan grave que murió del VIH. Y no sabíamos porque eso era un tabú muy grande. Y hubiese salvado, murió de 49 años. Hubiese vivido más si hubiese ido al doctor antes. Y quisiera que lo pusiera a Pablo González. Gracias.
Gracias a usted.
I'm here for my friend. His name is Alejandro Lapunki. That's what we call her. Gonzalez. I'm just going to say the name. Thank you.
Thank you.
So yes, we're here for my cousin who passed away in 1993, and I'm actually here with a friend a lifelong friend that I met because of my cousin. So my cousin's name is Mark Rangel. He was on the board tonight, and I just want to say one thing that he asked me before he passed. Hold on. He said, I was just rubbing his back, and he was really sick, and he said, "You think God loves me?" And I said, "Of course, mijo," because he brought me to a young retreat group and got me closer to the Lord, and I said, "Of course, God loves you, man. We all love you." So, in His honor, for all of them. Gracias.
Well, thank you so much.
I want to remember Rudy Zamudio, my ex-co-worker and good friend.
Thank you.
For my brother Juan Jose, who passed away this year, I feel him in spirit today. Thank you.
This year, thank you so much. Anybody else want to share about a memory? That's why we call it Las Memorias, no?
We're here for our cousin Elvira Bibi Cuevas. Her name has been on the wall for a couple of years, so thank you so much for that. We lost her at the tender age of 19. And it's been 20 years. But we are so grateful that you have done this and created this safe space for so many people to come and honor their loved ones. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I want to thank Richard. I was here 30 years ago. My brother died at 33 at the age of Jesus Christ. So I know he's with him. It was very, very hard for me to lose him. And Richard opened his heart and his office then and hugged me very, very much. Today, we haven't seen each other for a while. But when we saw each other today, he looked at me and I said, "You know who I am?" And he said, "Ileana, thank you and I love you for everything. I come back home."
Thank you. Anybody else? 30 years. Ileana, you haven't changed a bit. In fact, you look prettier. You do. Yes.
I want to remember my cousin Arturo Soto. His name's on the wall. Lost him 8 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago. So I just wanted to be here tonight. So I came straight from work.
So you came straight from work, you work for UPS, and you're a Dodger fan.
Yes.
And you're probably freezing cold because you're wearing short pants, but no? But you're here for a special night. This is your first time?
No. I came the year he passed, and his name was on the TV screen. And my friend Erica helped me put his name on the wall, so that meant a lot to me. And so I just wanted to, I haven't been able to come ever since because of work, but I was able to get off a little early, so just wanted to be here. So thank you for that.
We appreciate that so much. Anybody else?
Hola, yo quiero recordar a un gran amigo, Ernesto Aldana. Y a todos los que nos han dejado, se nos han adelantado. Gracias por este espacio, por este tiempo. I love you.
Thank you. She mentioned Ernesto Aldana. I don't know if you remember Ernesto. He passed away. He worked for us for a while. Anybody else?
Quiero reconocer a Carlos, a Ángel, a Ernestina Mantellano y a todas las madres of the wall. To all those who have passed, estamos con ustedes. Presente.
Thank you so much. She mentioned Ernestina Montellano. And Eddie remembers Ernestina. She read an article that a monument was going to be built in an East Side newspaper. And she called us on the phone, and then she came to the office and said, "I want to get involved. My son died of AIDS. I want to put his name on the wall." And Ernestina was like, she's from the East Side. So, you don't say no to Ernestina. That's the kind of women we wanted, And She and a number of women came together, the Mothers of the Wall. We just lost one last year, Angie, who was fearless, who would bang on doors. She went against the local cholitos when the cholitos wanted to kill us because we were building the monument. That's what Maria Elena, Senator Rosso, was talking about. But Ernestina was the first mother, and she was adamant that the wall would get built. I learned back then, because I also had a very strong mom when she was alive, don't mess with the women when the women are protecting their children. Yeah. Anybody else? Anybody else who lost someone to AIDS? Just one more.
I sincerely want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for this. This is amazing. I would like to bring to the forefront my dear friend. Back in the 90s, we were also club promoters in Silver Lake. We were a part of like the underground. And so my dear friend, who is my partner in the business, Jeffrey Reyes. So I just want to say, thank you for this. And I hope that his memory will continue to live on in this recording, as well as the many, many other friends that we have actually lost. And thank you very much for this.
Thank you. Anybody else as we start to wind down? So I just want to start wrapping up as we go on to our last number here. Tonight, I'll just be very honest, I don't like all the accolades paid to me. I don't. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Richard. It's not about me. It's all about you. I want my staff, all the staff to come in, please. All the staff to come up here, please. Staff, come up, please. I used to be able to take a staff member to lunch. Can't do that anymore. I'll be broke. I want my board members to come up, please. So, we're not going anywhere. We've accomplished 30 years, and there's so many other folks in this space that have done incredible work, and I'm looking at one, and that's the East LA Women's Center. I'm looking at Barbara Campos, who is the executive director, who works with women from domestic violence and abuse. We all play a role in this world. So I didn't do all this stuff. I have the mind and the dreams and I speak loud. But it's always been my staff, my former staff, and my board of directors who work their tails off. See, we just don't do service in the community. We engage the community. We fight for rights. We're organizers. We're fighting against the gondola project that they want to build over by Dodger Stadium. We have a young man over here in our staff who's still, so anxious about getting this thing done. People want to save lives. We've held town halls around crystal methamphetamine and fentanyl. We exceeded our numbers in HIV testing. We're opening a new office on Spring Street just to do testing and prep in downtown Los Angeles, and addressing crystal meth there with meth prevention groups. And there's so much more to do starting January when we start a new year, our 31st year. But we can't do it without you. The work that you do in your organizations, in your field, Sometimes people look at Gilead and says, wow, it's pie in the sky, right? It's a big pharmaceutical company, but no. You guys are at conferences, you're out there working and making sure that the employees have the resources to do the work that they need to do. We have legislators here who really care about our community and introduce legislation to protect us. And so I ask you to continue to support the mission, the role of the wall Las Memorias, because there's so much more to do. I want to thank all of you for an incredible night tonight. We started off a little slow, but we're family. There was little hiccups, but we got it done. A few things I want to share with you as we start to wrap up tonight. One is, tonight, I like doing things for the first time. I really like pushing the envelope, okay? We hosted Strikeout AIDS at Dodger Stadium for 15 years, the largest AIDS awareness events in the country. We brought in 2 Major League Soccer players, and we threatened Major League Soccer League, if they didn't do it, we'd go to the press. And we got 2 players to come in and test for HIV. And then we held a press conference. It was awesome. Well, this year, because so many Latinos are Catholic, we actually are streamlining this event on our website, but we also placed an advertisement in the National Catholic Reporter saying, come and watch. It's the first time that's ever been done. And next year it's going to be much bigger. And lastly, I just want to say the importance of this monument, the importance of tonight. For my friends here who cried here tonight about their loved ones, their sons, their partners, sometimes I cry too when I'm not too busy working. Because I come from a generation that was wiped out by AIDS. We might have had a lot of gay U.S. senators or gay and lesbian folks who would win Oscars and Emmys that were people of color. They might have flown to the moon, but they were wiped out by AIDS. And so it's fitting, it's nice to be able to know that we had people from Madrid, Spain submitting names to the AIDS monument. And so the monument doesn't belong only to the people in the Latino community or the east side of Los Angeles. It really belongs to the world. So I just want to say thank you to all of you. We're going to ask you to continue to support us. Support us if you even can make donations on a monthly basis, because our programs don't cover all the costs. But making a donation one time on a monthly basis, you're committing yourself to us. Just like Eliana came back after all these years, because she came and volunteered the first time, and she supported us. Now she's back. So I wish there was a song we could sing that now she's back. I don't know if there's a song. But I do want to call up before we end tonight with a celebration is Laura Diaz here. Laura's back there. She's drinking hot chocolate, eating a hamburger from In-N-Out. I want to thank the production team here that's here. Give a round of applause to Gabe. All the volunteers who came in, thank you. Give them a round of applause. To my amazing staff and board, give them applause. My amazing partner, who I sometimes go to home at night, pulling my hair out. He says everything's going to be okay. Give him applause. And lastly, give an applause to the amazing, I think she's just awesome. And now we work out of the same gym, and I was actually working out, and I was looking, and I was in my shorts, and I was an ugly T-shirt, and like, oh my God, she's there. I don't want her to see me this way. And it was Laura Diaz working next to us. So on behalf of all of us, thank you so much, Laura. So as we wrap up, I want people, it's a sad time right now, but it's also time to party. And I want you to get into the music. We will be having a gala this coming summer, an incredible gala to celebrate 30 years. But for tonight, I want to bring out Mario Bryant to close out the night with an amazing song that I used to, well, we still do dance, and that is Celebration. Mario Bryant.
This is a song I want everybody to stand up and clap. It's kind of cold. If you stand up and clap, you warm up a little bit. All right, let's all celebrate. Ready for that track? Come on, put your hands together. Celebration, right? Here we go. 1, 2, go. Here goes. Come on. Celebrate good times. Come on. It's a celebration, yeah. Celebrate good times. Come on. There's a party going on right here. It's a celebration that lasts you out the year. Bring your good time and your laughter too. We're gonna celebrate and party with you. Come on and celebration. We're gonna celebrate and have a good time, yeah. Celebration. We're gonna celebrate. It's time we come together. What's the use? What's your pleasure? Everyone around. Hey, oh! Come on, put your hands together. It's a celebration. Here we go. It's a celebration, yeah. Celebrate good times, come on. There's a party going on right here. So celebration to last you out the year. Make your good time and your laughter too. We're gonna party with you. Come on and we're gonna celebrate. It's alright. We're gonna have a good time tonight. We'll celebrate. It's alright. You guys ready to celebrate? Come on. Put your hands up. Celebrate, come on. That's it. celebrate, have a good time. Yeah, we're gonna have a good time. Da-da-da-da. Get up off your seat and move your feet. Get up off your seat and move your feet. Woo. Yeah, come on, celebrate. On the count of three, I want you to say celebrate. 1, 2, 3. All right. Woo.